It's hard to believe that it's been nearly 4 years since Ford decided to bring back the iconic Bronco name. This gave enthusiasts a lot of joy because it not only meant the return of the Bronco name after a 25-year hiatus, but it finally gave off-road enthusiasts something else to choose from besides the very popular Jeep Wrangler. Now, since then, the Bronco sales have really taken off, with the company selling nearly 100,000 units last year here in North America. And for 2024, the Bronco stays pretty much the same, but as you can see, this week we are testing out a very special version because this model here is the Bronco Heritage Limited, which means it starts out life as a Badlands trim, but includes the standard Sasquatch package, and it also gives you some styling tweaks that really harken back to the original 1966 Bronco, especially in this lovely shade of blue called Robin's Egg Blue. So if you guys are looking for a hardcore off-roader that really triggers a lot of nostalgic feelings, how does this 2024 Bronco Heritage Limited stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling touches on the Heritage versions, let me go ahead and pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this trim of the Bronco. Now, the Ford continues to offer a choice between 3 different engines. Technically, the top engine is exclusive to the Raptor. This model here comes standard with the mid-level choice, a 2.7-liter twin-turbocharged V6. Now, if you guys are familiar with Ford products, you'll know this engine quite well. It's the company's signature 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6. It's typically a $1,900 extra charge on other trims of the Bronco, but it comes standard on this Heritage Limited version. And here it makes 330 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. Now, that's with premium fuel. If you guys feed it regular gas, the power figures will drop to 315 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque, a really healthy torque figure. It all goes out through a one-choice only 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, if you guys want a 7-speed manual, Ford does offer it on the 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder, which makes 300 horsepower. I've driven it, and it's a really great powertrain. This, again, has that meaty torque delivery and the smoothness of that 10-speed. Fuel economy is not the strong suit of a vehicle like this, but it's rated at 17 in the city, 17 on the highway, 17 combined. Really easy figures to remember. It has around a 21-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 350-ish miles of range on a full tank. Ford doesn't quote a 0 to 60 performance. We'll test it out in this configuration and see what we can get in our real world testing. It'll reach a top speed of around 101 miles an hour. It's probably limited by the tires as well. This vehicle will tow a maximum of 3,500 pounds, and as this model sits, it weighs in at just under 5,000 pounds. Closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the styling changes. Now, first of all, this thing gets a lot of attention out on the roads, even though it's been on the market for a few years, especially in this trim, in this color, because as you guys know, the original Bronco from 1966 basically had a look like this, with this kind of light blue exterior with the white grille, the white wheels, the white roof, and the red Ford lettering. That's included, of course, when you go for the Heritage trim. Now, there's 2 levels of the Heritage, the base Heritage, and then this Heritage Limited. The Limited comes standard with the upgraded LED daytime running lights with LED low and high beams. You get LED headlights on the base version, but you won't get the signature daytime running light with this signature circle with a little line through it. That's optional on the base Heritage. You also get these LED fog lights along with the metal front bumper, which again gives you that durability that you're looking for in off-road conditions. I also like the red Ford lettering here with the white grille. I tested out a Bronco Sport earlier this year in that Yellowstone color. I hated the color combination. It looks a lot better on the big Bronco with this Robin's Egg Blue. This color is exclusive to the Limited trim along with the Yellowstone yellow exterior color. If you guys want the base Heritage, you can get it in red, and you can get it in certain gray and black exterior colors, but these 2-tone light colors are very unique to this vehicle. Now, you can see the hood has these nice little tie-down points. If you guys need to actually put something on the roof, you can get actual roof rails. The fenders have also been enlarged. They're kind of more of a throwback again to the 66 Bronco. The track, Ford says, is around 2 inches wider in this vehicle, and you can still take your pick between a 2-door or a 4-door, even on the Heritage Limited version. It's like a $1,000 upcharge. The 4-door version has an overall length of just under 190 inches long. It has a 116-inch long wheelbase, and you can see the wheels. These are exclusive to the Heritage Limited trim. They have kind of the white outline of the wheel. It's a 17-inch wheel with the gloss black insert, which is kind of like a dog dish style wheel. It's on a 35, a factory 35. a 315/70 R17. This is a Goodyear Wrangler Territory mud terrain tire. This comes standard with the Sasquatch package, which means you get the 35s, you get the lifted suspension, along with the independent front suspension and solid axle rear. You have around 11.3 inches of ground clearance. So this is about 3 inches more ground clearance versus a base Bronco without the Sasquatch package. You can see it also has some more heritage touches here with the kind of white line that goes across the vehicle. You have the heritage script here along the front fenders. This is exclusive to the limited version, whereas in the base Heritage, you'll just have kind of like an actual script over here, but you have an actual metal badge script for the limited. You have integrated turn signal mirrors here, or I'm sorry, those are actually just spotlights. There's no integrated turn signal at all in this car, but you have blind spot monitoring. The mirror also folds in, but it's not power folding, it's unpainted. And then you can see the Heritage versions come standard with the hard top, where it's also painted white. You can also get a soft top if you'd like. The door handles aren't body colored. Obviously, this is part of the Ford keypad entry system. But overall, let me know what you guys think of the Heritage styling touches. I actually really love it in this color. I don't like it in the Yellowstone exterior color, but with these wheels, the white two-tone roof and this blue, it's just a really attractive looking car in my opinion. I also love this, the Sasquatch badge here to show that you have the Sasquatch off-road suspension and wheels and whatnot. You can see the rear, you have the upgraded full LED taillights back here with LED brake lights, LED turn signals, LED reverse lights. You get a full-size matching spare tire with the wheel and whatnot. That's what you expect in an off-road vehicle like this. My tester is missing the tow package, as you can see, but you have these integrated tow hooks if you get the vehicle stuck. The rear diff on this car definitely hangs low. That's what you're gonna be scraping a lot in actual off-road conditions. The rear bumper itself is also not metal, it's just plastic. So kind of wish that you could get that as well. Something I think Jeep offers on the Wrangler. Now you can see opening up this swing out tailgate, you can see it swings out onto the passenger side, which does mean it kind of gets in the way and it's kind of on the wrong side if you're parallel parking this vehicle. But you can see here with the hard top, you have this kind of flip up glass area here, and you can remove the entire top if you'd like. Ford says that with the hardtop you have around 35 inches or cubic feet of cargo space back here, which is a pretty usable amount. You can see the floor, or this is actually the bag to put the panels in. You have some floor mats in there. If you fold down the second row seats, there's no third row seat available in this car. It expands it out to just under 78 cubic feet of space. Now if you have the soft top, Ford says you actually get more space up to 83, which seems like a lot, but again, this is a very generous cargo area. There are a couple of touches here like LED lighting. You have a power outlet back here. No actual household outlet back here, however. But overall, this is the model you're going to want to go for the increased practicality in terms of cargo space and in terms of rear seat space. So now that we've talked about the exterior of this Heritage Limited trim, let's go ahead and hop inside the interior and show you guys some of the changes that Ford has made. Before we get inside, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the older Ford Intelligent Access key. It has your usual buttons for lock or unlock, lock, remote start, panic, and then you also have a Bronco script here. I really prefer the newer key that Ford has. This key is just a little bit bulky. It just takes up a lot of space in your pocket and whatnot. But as you can see, my tester has the optional number pad here where you can input a code to unlock the vehicle. These door handles are very traditional. They are unpainted. If you touch this right here, that will lock the door for you. The mirrors, they don't have a power fold feature. If you touch the back of the door handle, that will unlock the door for you. Now, this color combination with the Robin's egg blue and this brown leather interior with the kind of plaid design insert here, along with the contrasting red and white stitching. These are really beautiful looking seats. They're exclusive to the Heritage Limited. If you guys step down to the regular Heritage, you'll have a cloth two-tone design seats. These seats are also heated. You have 10-way power adjustment on the driver's side, 8-way on the passenger side. No memory seats. You typically don't find that in this class. I also wish that Ford would offer cooled seats, especially at this price tag, but it does have a much more premium look and feel to it. I love all the additional red accents and the white and brown and the black. It's just a really great place to spend time. In terms of the door panel, you can see this door does come off, which again forces Ford to put some controls in the center of the vehicle, but you do have your door lock switch here. You have a metal accented door handle, padded area over here, padded over here, although this is technically not leather, it's just padded. There's some plastic areas, exposed screw heads. This is supposed to be a durable vehicle, so it's not going to have the highest quality in terms of the materials, but everything kind of feels well made and it feels like it's very, very rugged. Now getting inside, you can see my tester does have a running board here, or a step rail. You can see there's a handle here that I can grab onto to hoist myself in, because with nearly 12 inches of ground clearance, it is definitely a hike to get up here. As I get in and shut the door doesn't have a solid sounding thunk, but neither does the Wrangler, because remember, these doors come off. When you want to start the vehicle up, start stop button is where you'd expect it to be. And then you can see the interior hasn't really changed in terms of the tech. You still have this kind of two-tone style centered or instrument panel where you have an LCD display here for the tach and for your information. You still have an analog speedometer. If you guys go for the Raptor version of the Bronco, the Raptor, it'll have a fully digital 12-inch display, but only on that trim. You can see there's some hard-touch plastic materials here where it again has that kind of durable rubberized finish to it. You have an actual USB charging port up here, 2 of them if you guys want to install like a GoPro or a dash cam. You have your off-road controls over here where it's like a rubberized button, stability control off. You have that trail turn assist, a locking rear and front diff. You also have a sway bar disconnect, and then the Heritage Limited comes standard with the big 12-inch display. This is basically Sync 4 with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The screen itself looks fantastic. It's actually still a bigger screen than what Jeep puts in the Wrangler, which I believe is a 10.25-inch display, but it is relatively nice to use and easy to use. The graphics are good. It has built-in factory GPS as well, and you can also expand the CarPlay to be full screen if you guys would like. For some reason, right now my phone is not connecting to the CarPlay. It perhaps will connect later on. I can show you guys that. I also love the red script here with the Bronco and the white badging, the red accents here on the dash vents. You can see you have dual zone climate control along with heated seats and a heated steering wheel. You have nice knobs here for your volume and your tuning. There's the CarPlay. It took a second for it to load, but you can see once it loads up, my phone connects really easily to it, and it also, I love how it takes up the entire screen. You can also push that button here. It'll give you a split screen view, which I love how you don't have to go into a separate menu to kind of do that. You can kind of just do it from right there on the screen. That's something that Hyundai and Kia needs to steal. For their latest systems. You can see down here, there's a wireless phone charging pad, 2 USB charging ports. You have a traditional shifter for the 10-speed auto. You have, again, more badging here to show the homage to the original 1966 Bronco, another grab handle here. Your GOAT modes here is your drive mode selector. So if I start rotating that, you can see there's a normal, an eco, a slippery, a mud and ruts, a sand, a Baja mode, and then a rock crawl mode. There's no sport mode because remember, this is not a sporty vehicle, but you have your 4-wheel drive selector here between 4 auto, 2 high, 4 low, and 4 high, and then you have like a downhill assist control. Your window controls are here. You have 1 touch up, down for all 4. The Wrangler offers 1 touch down, but not 1 touch up. So I like how Ford did that along with your controls for your window switches. Some of the plastics here do feel a little bit cheap, but I like how it's not at least a glossy black piano black plastic. You have a center console here that opens up. You can see there's a pretty good amount of storage in there. The seats are comfortable and supportive with high quality feeling leather, so it's nice that Ford throws that in at this price point especially. You can see, open up the glove compartment. It's damped but not lined with felt. It's a bin style. There's some decent storage in this vehicle, and then you can see there's an auto dimming rearview mirror. There's LED map lighting in here along with a little bit of ambient LED lighting. You can see there's these factory auxiliary switches if you guys want to add some extra stuff, hardware to the vehicle, and then you can take off these roof panels by essentially just basically pushing that and then rotating this and then pulling off the panel. There's actually 2 more behind me right here, and you can basically store these in your garage or in the actual compartment bag that Ford gives you. But overall, you can see the interior hasn't changed much. It has a ton of space in here, good visibility. The B&O stereo system offers 12 speakers. It has good sound as well. There's curtain airbags, which is something the Wrangler offered for 2024. It's funny how Jeep didn't offer that. But overall, it's not luxury, but it has some great tech features. I would like to see cooled seats added to this vehicle. But overall, I think Ford has done a good job with keeping this interior very fresh. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat of the new Bronco, because the back seat with the 4-door version does offer some decent room. Now, there's around 36.5 inches of legroom back here. You can see the door panel materials are pretty much the same as the front doors. This door does still come off. You can see the seats back here. They do fold down, where you can basically just fold them down and fold down that headrest, where it's not a completely flat floor, but it's nice that it expands the cargo relatively easily. The seats themselves, they do offer a slight recline function, which is nice. And you can see that plaid theme with the full leather carries over back here. There's still a grab handle that I can basically hold on to hoist myself in. I will say that I feel like the Wrangler offers a little bit more legroom back here. It's not a lot, even on the 4-door version. Once I get back here, you can see the door doesn't sound great when it shuts. You have some red accents here for these really cool little storage nets. No rear seat air vents, sadly, but you do have your window controls down here, an actual power outlet, and an actual household power outlet here. And if you want to fold this down, you can see it gives you an armrest with 2 cup holders, although there's not really much space to actually put your elbows here, especially if you actually have a drink. The vehicle is wide enough to fit 3 across, but there is a hump here that's going to intrude on that middle passenger. So overall, if you want to use this as a family vehicle, obviously get the 4-door, and this has pretty comparable space to a Wrangler, but I feel like it actually feels a little bit less in terms of legroom. In terms of the headroom space, you can see there's a ton, and if you take off this area here, you'll just have basically an infinity amount of headroom. So here we are back in the new Ford Bronco. It's hard to believe that this car has been out for about 3 years now, and this 2024 version really didn't get too many changes. It's actually the same model as the 2023 from what I read. However, this Heritage Edition in the limited trim is definitely a cool car. It gets a lot of attention out on the road. I love it in this Robin's Egg Blue. This color is exclusive to the limited trim, along with that yellow color. With the red accents. Love the blue with the white wheels and the white roof. Don't really love it in the yellow quite as much, but because this is the limited trim, it comes standard with the 2.7 liter twin turbo EcoBoost V6. So while I haven't had a chance to drive the Bronco Raptor, I'm hoping to get one in the fleet in my local area very soon so I can finally do a full test on that vehicle. This 2.7 should have enough power for most people. It's typically a $1,900 upcharge versus the 2.3 EcoBoost 4-cylinder. While you don't necessarily need it because it only has about 30 more horsepower, it has a lot more torque, and it also has that signature V6 sound that people like. Now, the last time I 0 to 60 tested this vehicle was like 2 years ago. I think I got like in the 6-second range. Let's go ahead and see what we can get in this model here. There's no sport mode. You basically just put it in 4 auto and then brake torque it. Engine makes a nice sound. 10-speed offers really quick shifts, 6.8 seconds there, so not quite as quick as the last time I tested this vehicle, but it should be fast enough for most people. Now keep in mind, most people won't be brake torquing this vehicle, and it does add a little bit, or shave a little bit of time off of that. I'll show you guys up ahead what you get when you don't brake torque it. But again, it should be sufficient power for most people. 0 to 60 testing is obviously not what people are gonna do when they buy this car. I only do it for demonstration purposes to show you where this car fits compared to other vehicles in the class, because it's a great metric to measure it by. But the 10-speed in this car, which is standard with the V6, offers really crisp shifts. Ford has done a great job with just updating this transmission over the years to make it quicker, snappier, smoother with its gear changes. Let's try it here from a stop. I'm still in normal with 4x4 in auto mode. The auto start-stop is kind of annoying, but let's make sure it's not on. Floor it definitely feels a little bit slower when you don't floor it, but the front end actually lifts up, and once that turbo kicks in, whoo, this thing actually feels pretty fast. 7.5 seconds there. So again, in the real world, you'll be looking in the 7-second range, 0 to 60, which should be fine and sufficient for most people. Again, that's not the point of a vehicle like this. Now, in terms of its road manners, this is where the Bronco continues to shine even against the refreshed Wrangler, because this vehicle has an independent front suspension. It has rack and pinion steering that's electrically assisted. The steering itself, it is a slow ratio. Obviously, it's tuned for off-roading, but the car just tracks straight a lot better, which is something that the Wrangler still doesn't do, even on the refreshed model that I drove at the first drive event. The ride quality in this car is still a little bit bumpy. Remember, it's a body-on-frame vehicle, but with the Sasquatch package, the 35-inch tall mud terrain tires, you basically feel like you're king of the road. You have a little over 11 inches of ground clearance, so you can see out of the vehicle really well, out of the front, the side, out of the rear, but again, it just gives you that commanding view of the road where if you see a pothole on the road as well with these big 35s, you're not going to care. It's just going to roll over that pothole really easily because of the fact that this has so much sidewall protection with the 17-inch wheels. And it does a better job of being a more comfortable cruiser and being easier to live with than the Wrangler. I also find the seats in this car to be pretty comfortable. These are the leather heated seats with 10-way power adjustment on the driver's side, 8-way power adjustment on the passenger side. It just offers some good creature comforts here, along with the infotainment system. This car still has a massive 12-inch display, which the Wrangler now has a 10.25-inch display. This is still technically bigger, and it also has wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, which is definitely nice. In terms of just driving it out, around tighter roads, you can feel the turning radius. You feel the width of this car. That's what you first noticed. It does offer good sight lines and whatnot, but it definitely feels wide. If you guys want an even smaller, easier to drive Bronco, the 2-door is obviously still available as well. You'll save about $1,000 if you guys go for the Heritage trim, which you can still go for a 2-door as well, which is kind of nice how Ford offers that customization. But overall, I really like driving this vehicle out on the road. It's still a ton of fun to drive. It still gets a ton of attention out on the road, especially in this color. People were giving me the thumbs up constantly because it really reminds you a lot of the 60s Bronco, the 1966 more specifically. Ford is only offering this vehicle in 1,966 units. They did it last year, and they're also doing it again for 2024. But overall, it's just amazing to me how much better to drive this vehicle is compared to a Wrangler counterpart. And that's because Ford, again, was studying the Wrangler thoroughly when they developed this car. And the transmission, Ford has also done some magic here to improve the software and the shift programming, because it's a lot better versus the earlier renditions of this transmission. It also has decent fuel efficiency for what it is. Now this truck is rated at 1717 and has around a 20.8 gallon fuel tank, basically 21 gallons. It is recommended to run on premium if you guys want the full fat 330 horsepower. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 18 miles to the gallon, which actually isn't bad. On the highway, it actually got worse. It got 16.5. Now that's when I was cruising at over 75 miles an hour. If you guys slow down that speed to around 65 or less, this truck will do around 21 mpg. But remember, it's got the aerodynamic efficiency of a brick. It's got these big, rolling, 35-inch tall tires, which create a ton of drag and a ton of weight to lug around. So that's going to lower the fuel efficiency. And this vehicle is definitely not sporty to drive. The GOAT modes here, the drive mode selector doesn't even have a sport mode, which is fine. You don't expect a vehicle like this to have a sport mode anyways. But overall, it's still really, really comfortable. You do have to deal with a little bit more noise. I do hear some tire noise, especially for those big 35s. There is some wind noise as well. If you guys don't like this hardtop roof, you can also go for the soft top. Ford also basically gives you the option of going with a soft top and a hard top, where you can pull off this hard top and put the soft top on. The one thing that Ford is still missing, however, is a one-touch sky roof, where you can have basically like a canvas that opens up like a convertible top with power. That's something Jeep has been offering on the Wrangler for a while. I'm surprised to see that after 3 years, Ford still hasn't offered something like that. They need to find a manufacturer, or they need to develop their own, because I think it's an option that a lot of Bronco owners would probably, pick, because it just adds that convenience without having to take off these panels or swap out a roof panel or for the canvas material and whatnot. But overall, from a driving perspective, this vehicle is still really easy to drive, really easy to live with. You just have to deal with a little bit more noise and deal with the fact that it's not a sporty vehicle to drive. Obviously, off-road, it's going to be a mountain goat. That's why there's goat modes and whatnot. And I am looking forward to eventually getting my hands on the Raptor. That's going to be the most hardcore version. But just know that if you guys don't require the most hardcore off-roading and you're looking for that nice balance, these trims, this Heritage Edition, whether you go for the Limited or the regular Heritage, they're based off of the Badlands trims. And I think they offer a nice balance between ride comfort and off-road ability, and just kind of giving you the tough and rumble looks that you expect from a vehicle that wears the Bronco name. So after spending a full week with the 2024 Ford Bronco Heritage Limited, I have to say, even though Ford hasn't really made any mechanical upgrades to this car, it's still the same fantastic off-road style vehicle that I tested about 3 years ago. The styling changes that they made to the Heritage model have definitely triggered a lot of nostalgic feelings, not just for myself, but for onlookers everywhere. You take this thing, people give it a thumbs up, they take pictures of it because of just the cool looks of this car. Ford has really been getting it right when it comes to bringing back old nameplates and giving it that retro modern design cue, and this Bronco continues that tradition here, and it really has shown up in terms of the sales. Like I said earlier, Ford has sold nearly 100,000 units every year. That's just of the big Bronco. If you add in sales of the Bronco Sport, which is again not technically a Bronco, but a Bronco-like SUV that's a crossover, and you're looking at nearly 200,000 sales last year here in America. So this has been a really great vehicle for Ford in terms of just sales. Now, in terms of daily driving this car out on the road, it actually is a relatively easy car to drive, as you guys know, with the independent front suspension, the rack and pinion steering. Some would argue that a Wrangler would be a little bit more capable off-road. Obviously, I've had a chance to drive both. They're both basically mountain goats. You can't really go wrong with either of them. But this model here, I think, is going to be the easier car to live with on the road, which is where most drivers are going to be spending their time, is actually out on highways, out in cities, driving this vehicle, around town where you're going to have potholes, and these big tires are going to make it easy for you don't even have to avoid potholes and whatnot. Where I have my issues with the Bronco is in terms of the fuel efficiency. I would like to see Ford eventually offer a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid, which I believe they're working on. There's rumors of a plug-in hybrid coming in the near future. and in terms of the price, because if you guys want this vehicle, Ford has just been increasing the price over the years steadily because of production shortages and whatnot. They have been trying to really pick that up and start building these vehicles a lot better, and so which is why you're starting to see more and more of them out on the road. But if you guys want the base Bronco, which technically as of this filming you can't order right now, you're gonna have to go to a dealership and just find a leftover 2023 if you guys want one. Those start at around 35 grand for the 2-door version, at around 3 grand for the 4-door version. However, if you want to order a 2024 now, it's going to start with the Big Ben trim at just around $40,000 for the 2-door. The 4-door is a little bit more. This version here, if you guys want the Heritage, it's going to start at least $47,000. Now, it starts life as a Badlands trim, which is a good trim. It's the mid trim where you can add a lot of option packages. You can add the Sasquatch package. You can essentially get into a Heritage for around $52,000 with options with the 4-cylinder turbo. I think that's actually a really good deal, especially with what you get with the overall package. Now, things get a little bit sour when you guys go to the limited version of this car, the Heritage Limited, because the base price of this model here starts at $68,000. 68 grand. It's like $22,000 more versus the regular Heritage. Now, of course, being that this model starts off as a Badlands trim, it seems like a really steep increase because the Badlands also starts at around $20,000 less. However, if you add in the options to a Badlands like the luxury package, which is an extra $5,500, the Sasquatch package, an extra $5,500, the engine, the 2.7, 2 grand extra, really, the price delta is around $6,700 compared to a Badlands that's comparably equipped. Now, because this is a limited production car, Ford says they're only building 1966 units. They did that last year. They're doing it this year. Again, to throw back to the homage to the 1966 model. It will make this vehicle a little bit more rare, and if you guys like the styling changes, you want something that's a little bit exclusive, you'll easily pay that extra $6,500, but just know, as tested here with Destination, my tester here is around $73,000. 73 grand I think is a little bit too expensive, but again, if you want something that's going to make you feel like you're back in 1966 and you want something that's a little bit rare, I imagine those of you who are interested in that and have the money will be picking up every one of these vehicles that Ford is going to be building, and it makes it certainly a unique car, and I think it has a lot more character versus a lot of the Jeep Wranglers, although Jeep offers a lot of great stuff as well, so it'll be interesting to see how Ford continues to update the Bronco as we go on into the next decade. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2024 Ford Bronco Heritage Limited. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.